Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
How many points did you?
1, 2, 3, 5. 5.
Okay, I brought up several. Can you several questions myself?
I'm pretty sure there's gonna be more. Cause it was one I forgot. I couldn't think of, and I was like, I get it when we get on there. I just need like a word or something that'll click in my mind what it was.
Hello to our one viewer. Welcome back to another edition of our Talk It Out sessions presented by VERB. Hello, Monique. We are your hosts, Aaron Tate, Adrian Poe. Say hello to our future selves. So if you've been catching our other videos, then you know what we like to do is we like to pick a specific topic, particularly one that is controversial, and we like to discuss it. We come up with different talking points, but we also like to get involved with you guys as well. So for those of you tuning in, please feel free to comment and ask any questions you may want us to answer. But today's lovely topic is...
Hello, Miss Jones.
Hello. Today's lovely topic is, can age just be a number in a romantic relationship? Can age just be a number in a romantic relationship? So right off the bat, my answer to that question is as long as it's legal.
Hey, Butter. You want to share how we arrived at this?
Yes. So speaking from personal experience, throughout life growing up,
Hey, Kristen.
I've always encountered situations or moments with different romantic partners or different romantic interests where they would more times than not be older than me because I was always looked at as a lot mature for my age. But there have been situations where my age has been a deterrent or my age has been the determining factor of whether or not they decided they wanted to continue or pursue anything romantic with me. And to me, I feel like that's not fair because I've shown the ability to handle a mature relationship regardless of how old I was, especially if not for me telling you how old I was, you wouldn't have known. So I think that's something that we should tackle. Whether or not age should be a determining factor. If it is, what is your range? How old or how young would you go in a romantic relationship, depending on what it is that you're looking for. Nikki, Mickey, hey, how are y'all? We're doing well.
You're saying no. Did you say no?
Yeah, as long as it's legal. Yeah.
I'm going to say. Give me the question again.
Can age just be a number in a romantic relationship?
I'm going to say yes and no. Because there's so many moving parts that need to be considered before I can give the answer. So I say yes and no.
Okay. All right, so for those of you tuning in, can age just be a number in a romantic relationship? What do you guys think? Should age be a determining factor?
So I'm going to say this. Once we get into the questions and get into these bullet points, Gerard says no. If you can logically check off all of the boxes, then age is not a determining factor. But if we find ourselves getting bogged down into the details of one of these situations, then age needs to be a determining factor.
Monique said yes, I agree with Adrian. Mickey said yes, age should be a determining factor. Okay. Well, one of the questions that I have is it more acceptable for the man to be older than the woman in a romantic relationship than it is for the woman to be older than the man? Is it more acceptable for the man to be older than it is for the woman to be older?
I feel like we should take this video in two parts. One, the first answers we answer are based on the social norms. And then we should answer with our personal perspectives.
Okay.
So your question is, it more acceptable for the man to be older? I would say socially, looking at it from a social norm, I would say yes, but then there's an age cutoff though. Cause like if the girl is 21 and the guy's maybe like 28, 30, it's fine, right? But we get on up to like 45, 50 and she's 21, then that's looking like more of a sugar daddy predator type territory, socially speaking. But then if we get into the mentality of the 45-year-old and the 21-year-old, then it balances back out. So that's what I'm saying. It's moving parts. So the same could apply to a female though. Like if the woman is older and the guy's younger, we automatically see her as a cougar. But then it depends on her mentality and his mentality. It may balance back out. And I have an example for one of them. But we'll get into it.
Mickey said, I think it's best the man should be, but just by a couple of years. Okay. So why isn't it okay or best for, or just as okay for a woman to be older, Mickey? If you can answer that for us.
I think it also speaks to, they have this whole girls mature faster than guys. And I think that actually comes from, and this is just my perspective, I think when they say that, they don't realize they're simply talking about their bodies. Like their breasts grow. We don't have breasts that grow. The only way that they see our maturity is in our balls, but you don't see them drop.
Right.
So when they say they mature faster, people have attached the biological or the physical maturity to a mental place when that's not the same.
Correct. Monique said, right. I feel like the maturity of each individual plays a big part in it as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I just realized that, like I just thought about it, that's why they say girls mature faster than men, but they only say that when we're talking about the mental space, and that comes from their physical makeup, not their mental space.
Right, and I think that's why she made the comment that it's probably better for the man to be older, because we're assuming that a woman who is younger can still match the mental maturity of a man. Mm-hmm. Tawana Jackson, well, I have dated younger and older guys, and they both have their positives and negatives. At my age, I have to be careful because I have beautiful younger daughters, so I wouldn't want my younger guy friend to be attracted to her. I hope this makes sense because I'm just speaking out loud.
But at the same time, Tawana, your older guy could equally be as predative on your younger daughters as a younger guy could. So that I mean, not saying that your point is not valid, but you have the same or equal chance of an older guy preying on your younger daughter than you do your younger guy being attracted to your younger daughters. And notice how when I say older guy, I say preying on. But when I say younger guy, I simply said attracted. The age at some point makes a difference in our heads, even if we don't realize it.
Right. But is that fair to call it?
No, it's not. It's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not.
Deneen said, no, mentally, most girls mentally mature faster than boys. I can't agree with that.
I can't agree with that. I feel like they're still coming from that saying, girls mature faster, but they're basing it on physical makeup, but they're ascribing it to the mental capability as well, when that's not true.
Yeah, I think what people are confusing when they say mature faster, I thought about this earlier today. Tawana said, I agree because the older guy can be like, that's what mama used to look like back in the day.
Yeah.
I think what people are saying or trying to say is boys and girls are raised differently in terms of the mentality that is impressed upon them, in terms of what it is that they should want or look for whenever they get a certain age. So of course girls or females are taught to find a man to take care of them, right? Boys are normally taught to have a whole phase, and then once you reach a certain point, then you can find somebody to take care of or whatever the case is.
Girls don't have that phase.
Girls don't have that phase, or at least they're not taught to have that phase.
So it's interpreted, they go from here to here.
Right.
And we have to...
It's not...
That's it?
It's not that they mature faster, it's just they're taught to want different things. And so wanting different things doesn't make anyone more or less mature. that just means you want different things. And women are taught to want to find a man who can take care of them and
right out the gate.
Right out the gate. Boys are taught to let me go ahead and stick my dick anywhere I can
and
first,
then settle
and then
down.
settle down.
So they assume that the race for the female goes from start to finish, and then the race for the guy goes from start, speed bump to finish. So they automatically assume that the girl has already finished,
Correct.
but the guy is right here.
Correct.
Dang, that's good.
So
that's good.
Jonathan said yes.
You're absolutely correct. And it could be a combination of both. It could be they're looking at the physical makeup of the girl developing or that concept. But, you know, to be honest, most people would never think about that like that. They don't think that, oh, guys' society perspective have three bases. You got home base, which is birth. You got whole phase, and then you got destination. Girls only have two, home base and destination. They don't see it like that, so they're assuming that she's already arrived when she get a certain age. And because you're in the age gap where I feel like you should be in your whole phase, I'm never going to even view you at the destination. That's crazy. That makes perfect sense.
All right. Denise said, well, men still play video games while the girls stop playing with dolls.
Well, y'all still play in makeup and eyelashes and clothes.
You
and
guys
wigs.
are the dogs.
Right, y'all, you turn yourself into a doll.
Yeah,
so
that's not...
you never really stop playing with dolls. You just turn yourself into one.
Correct.
So don't come for our video games.
Please do not.
Don't. Okay, I'm playing. I'm not playing about what I'm saying. I'm playing about the aggression. Don't come for our video games.
LMA Williams, if both people are mature mentally as well as spiritually to be able to be real and honest, starting with themselves. Mickey said, you're right, bro.
That little trying to come for our video game, bro. Like, you got a whole $2,000 wig on it, don't belong to you. Like, what's up? Take them nails off. What's up then? I'll turn my game, you take them nails off.
Right.
What's up?
Tawana said, I just want to be... I just want to be with someone that is equally yoked, knows that he has to be the man and not the tail. Also, we need to be spiritually, mentally, and physically attracted to one another. So, Tawana, does age matter to you, or do you feel like it should matter in a relationship based on what you just said? And if so, would you be okay with dating, or if not, would you be okay with dating a younger man? Jonathan said playing the game is totally...
I thought you were trying to say okay.
Oh, okay.
He's one of us.
Denise said that's different.
Of course you would say that. You have a bias. So, of course, you would definitely say that.
Speaking of that, that's
you have a bias. Of course you would
points.
say it's different.
Did you have any socially norm points that you wanted to make before we get into the...
Yeah, all of mine. All of my points come from the society perspective of why it's not why age does matter.
Tawana said, no, it doesn't. I actually get approached by more younger men than guys my age. Cool. So one of the things I kind of wanted to focus on is some of the negative effects focusing so heavily on age can have when it comes to the experience of romance with people.
So maybe I should give mine first because I think yours is going to solve all of mine.
Correct.
All right, so a couple of things that are a couple of reasons why I feel like age should be considered in a romantic relationship. Now, these things that I'm bringing up are just social norms or things that we can all agree that's commonly projected or promoted on TV or we can see. So whenever there's a older person, a much older person dating a younger person, there's often a sense of ownership. Can we agree? Like the female may feel like, well, you know, I take a motherly approach to you now. Since you're younger, I'm older than you, I'm gonna project myself as your mother. Yeah, we're lovers, we're friends and all that, but it's more of a telling you what to do than working with you to accomplish that goal. And the same for older guys when they're dating younger girls. The girls generally view them as, oh, this is my father figure, big daddy. But the older guy takes the approach of, yeah, you're projected as my daughter, but we're still intimate and we're doing all the other things. But I have a sense of ownership because I've been living longer than you and I know more than you. Can we agree? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that needs to be considered and why age could play a determining factor. The second one is the generation that the two people are in. So I got a homegirl now that's dating a guy that's, I think, almost 10 years younger than her, which means her generation and the things that she accustomed to are totally different than his. Like, he's finished start college and she been out of school, done had kids, got a house, bought 2 cars. So in his mind, he told her, the reason that I'm not really trying to be with you, or that I don't know if I want to be with you, is because I don't know what I can offer you, because you've had a 10-year head start on me. And she told him, well, the reason that I'm skeptical about being with you is because I don't know what I can offer you, because you're 10 years behind me, in the sense of you got 10 years worth of stuff that I remember I wanted to do during that time period that I can't help you with. That's a big age gap there. So that entire generation, that they're going to have to find a way, if they do decide to be together, to figure out how to not let the 2 different generations mess up what they're trying to build together. So that's another thing that age need to be determined with. Number 3 is a mental gap, which also kind of ties into the generation. There's a lot of experiences, concepts, precepts, and just ideas that an older person who actually have utilized their time on this earth have, that someone younger have not even experienced yet. So they're speaking from a perspective of, I've been where you are and now I've overcame that, or I know multiple ways to go around it, where the younger person may be more rejective of receiving the information because they have this, I know it all, I'm young, I'm vibrant, I'm optimistic, it's going to work out. And it's like, that's not going to work. You don't know. Well, you don't know. Well, I'm older than you. And that goes back to the ownership. Number 4 is the physical abilities. Someone with a 10 to 20 year age gap, if you're not, taking care of your body, being physically active, I'm going to be more physical and outgoing than you are, because you're older, right? You 60, I'm 40 or 30. You're not going to be as, hey, let's go here, let's go there, let's walk, let's do all this, if you've not used your 60 years to keep your body up. That creates a whole nother level in the relationship that we're going to have to deal with now. And the 5th one was sex drive. Granted, I'm 30, you 60, you probably went through menopause already. That throws our entire monkey wrench in the romantic portion of the relationship. Now, all of these are just common things that we could all agree that is either projected or we've saw or heard at some point, to where simply being much older than the person you're in a romantic relationship, these things could easily come into play. So that's why I say age is or should be considered.
All right. LMA said, y'all can have your video games as long as you can take a break and help clean up after meals.
Agreed.
All right. Deneen said, age do not matter in some cases where I've met men older that may have settled down. Then some younger still had the Snoop Doggy Dogg mentality. Monique said, I agree. I do believe that when women have daddy issues, they gravitate more towards older men for that father figure feeling.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Jonathan says, so my wife is 4 years older than me, but mentally we are compatible. I matured very quickly as a kid, and younger girls were too immature for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And LMA also said, when there's a young and older person in a relationship, you have to make sure you are trying to control the other person because of your age and experiences. Bring to the relationship healthy ways to help it grow.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
All right, so there are a couple of negatives that I've come up with as to why focusing so heavy on age in a relationship could actually be less of a benefit or more of a hindrance than it can be a benefit. First point I want to bring up is confirmation bias. So for those of you who are unaware of what confirmation bias is, I'll be happy to look up the definition for you. All right, so confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. All right, so the tendency to process information by looking for or interpreting information that is consistent with one's existing beliefs. People are especially likely to process information to support their own beliefs when the issue is highly important or self-relevant. So for example, if you have the perspective that the younger you are, or the younger someone is, the less mature that they are. Now, with that being in the back of your mind, everything that they do, you're looking at it from the scope of trying to find something to confirm what you already believe about that person. So let's say, for instance, I'm 21, and I like to. In your perspective, is that younger people are more vibrant and they like to go out a lot, right? So let's say one weekend my friends invite me out to go to a club, just to go to a club, hang out, get some drinks, whatever the case is, and I go out to the club that weekend. You're looking at that as, oh, that confirms that he's young-minded because he's all up in the club trying to be, drinking, trying to be all up on girls, right? But being in the club there's no age. There's an age requirement, but there's no age limit to being in the club. So you got 20-year-olds in the club, you have 30, 40, 50-year-olds in 60, the club, 60-year-olds. So it's like being in the club shouldn't be, or me going to a club shouldn't be something to confirm your bias towards me based on my age, right? If I'm dating a 40-year-old, and I want to go to a club, but I have this mentality that the older you are, the less energy you have to go out and do things. And then I try to invite you to the club and you say no. Well, now that can confirm my bias towards you of being an old person. Like, oh, I can't be with you because I can't do certain things that I want to do with you because of how old you are. Like it's not fair to place these bias, to have a confirmation bias when it comes to dealing with certain people, because everybody offers things differently. Or everybody can offer different things that has nothing to do with their age. Whatever you think a young person does when they're young, you can find older people that are doing it as well, and it has nothing to do with their age and everything to do with their mentality that those two people hold. So I think confirmation bias is definitely a negative, or definitely a hindrance when it comes to trying to build a romantic relationship with someone. Because the more you have their age in the back of your mind, the more you're going to find little things that they're doing to confirm any preconceived notions you have of them simply based on their age, which may not even be fair to do. So I think that's definitely a negative.
Which fails to even mention that this is your first time ever even going to the club, because as long as I've known you, you've always been at home. So for me, I wouldn't think any different about you, but because they have their confirmation bias, oh, that's it. I'm like, bro, no, he's never done that. Correct. This is the first time in all the years he's ever done that. So that is the perfect example for the perfect situation why that is not a good idea.
Correct.
You killed it.
How do y'all feel about that?
That makes perfect sense.
Why does it keep saying that she's watching?
I think her service is going in and out, so it's logging her back into the video every time it goes in and out.
Gotcha.
That was perfect. Makes perfect sense to me.
Monique said, makes sense. Cool. Mm-hmm. Another point that I came up with is the optics, how it looks, right? So we just discussed confirmation bias and how people have these preconceived notions of other people simply based on their age, right? So we associate behavior with, or we associate age with a specific kind of behavior that goes along with it, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm 35, 36, 37 years old. I'm older, and I meet this younger girl who's 22, 23 years old. Now, me being an older dude, 37, 38 years old, I want to be seen as the mature guy that I am. Like, I don't want to be seen associating with the type of people that I don't associate with, mm-hmm. right? But if I have this idea that if you're in your early 20s, then you behave differently than you would be if you were my age. Meaning you're probably, you got hot girl summer going on. Like, you're probably out here, vibrant, doing your thing all on social media and things like that. So the optics of me being with you would not be in my favor, because if I'm seen associating with you,
they're gonna attach
someone of your age, they're gonna attach my behavior to what it is that I think you're doing. Mm-hmm. And even if you may not be doing it, I just assume that's what it is, because mm-hmm. that's how old you are, and I know that's how the world is gonna see it. They see 22, 23-year-old with the 38-year-old, they may think I'm trying to be young. You know what I mean?
He childish.
Correct. And same thing, vice versa, for women especially. It's more socially acceptable for the man to be older than the woman. So to reverse it, women are automatically labeled cougar or labeled desperate. You know what I mean? So it's like people are so concerned with the optics of it because of the idea of the kind of behavior that is attached to age. But again, it's like 21, early 20s people that go out and is vibrant and all on social media. You can find people of all ages that are doing the same things. Like the behavior doesn't come with an age. There's no age requirement or age limit when it comes to a specific type of behavior. And so I think it's not fair to keep assuming that because someone is a specific age that, oh, you must be doing this now that you're at this point in your life. So I think people, you got confirmation bias, and then you also have the optics. It's what people are so concerned about when it comes to age in a relationship.
True. I can agree with that as well. Makes perfect sense.
How do y'all feel about that, Monique?
It's all very interesting.
It is.
Very true.
My next point that I wanted to bring up was stupidity does not have an age requirement or limit. So we assume and then another point after that was age does not equal experience, and experience does not equal maturity. So we assume that the older you are, the more you've experienced in life. And in some cases that may be true, but there are also cases where it's not, you know. And we also assume that with experience comes maturity. But I'll give you a prime example. There's this girl, not even a year removed from high school, she got pregnant, right? By whatever guy that she was dealing with at the time. Her and the guy didn't end up together. Like he ended up, you know,
of course,
being a deadbeat or whatever.
Of course.
So she's now a single mother, right? 19 years old, got a kid. Maybe a year or two later, she meets another guy, and they become romantically involved. Not even within a few months, she gets pregnant by him, right? Ask me if they ended up together.
They did.
They're not together.
Of course not.
So now she's a single mom with two kids, two different baby daddies. A couple years down the line, she meets another guy, right? Ask me, did they have a kid together?
They did.
They had a kid together. Now, fortunately, they're still together, but you know,
it took her 3 times.
Right, it took her 3 times. So it's like, her having the experience of being a single mother with a child, you would think that would prompt her to be more, wary of, you know, spreading her legs for the next guy, potentially having another kid.
Until she gets some type of security with him.
Until she has some kind of security with him, or until they're romantically involved to the point where marriage is on the table. You know, like they plan to be together long term. However, even though she had that one experience to begin with, fresh out of high school, she didn't learn from that experience. She didn't gain maturity from that experience. She just ended up repeating the exact same choice that she made previously. So we can't assume that experience automatically gives you maturity. What gives you maturity is learning from that experience. And we can't assume that age brings experience, because she was only 19 and she's already a mother. You know, people assume that you're not a mother until you're in your late 20s, early 30s, whatever the case is. So clearly that debunks the whole idea of with age comes experience, because you can experience a lot. Women are having kids even younger than 13-year-old, 14, 15 years old. So it's like, okay, well, would you now deem them mature now that they've had a similar experience as a married woman who's in her late 20s having on her second child? You know what I mean? Like, so this idea that age brings experience and then experience brings maturity is hindering us from actually seeing, oh, it's not their age that's the problem. It's not their lack of experience. It's their ability to learn from their experience or the lack thereof. But there's also the 3 different learning styles that you bring up all the time. just because a person doesn't have certain experiences doesn't mean that they're not mature enough to handle those experiences. Should they?
Because that ain't the only way to learn.
Because that's not the only way to learn. I can learn. I'll know not to have a kid until I'm ready.
Because I saw the other folks do it.
Everybody
I don't
else,
have to go do it.
Right. I don't have to be put out there to know how to handle that. You know what I mean? True. So I just think people need to. It would be helpful if we didn't only base our perception of their maturity based on how old they are and what all they've been through.
I can agree with that as well. Valid.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Monique said my servers keep going in and out. Okay. Denise says, so true about the bias. When I met my husband, I was in my 20s and he was in his late 30s, and the way I carried myself was much different than what he was used to. We both compromised coming together, and it worked out well. I do take in consideration that he is 10 years older, but there has been times physically he gave me a run for my money. Feel me?
All right.
Okay. Right? Shout out. Shout out. Gladys Morley. In mine, it definitely is.
Yeah, her husband, she just got married, is older than her. I don't know how much older is he than you?
Monique said, Aaron, I repeat the statement about age, maturity, and experience. Oh, Aaron, repeat the statement about age, maturity, and experience. I don't think people really felt
the whole just because, yeah.
So, the statement was, age does not equal experience, and experience does not equal maturity.
Facts.
Just because someone is a certain age doesn't necessarily mean that they have or have not experienced certain things. And just because they have or have not experienced certain things doesn't automatically mean they have matured as a result of those experiences. What determines your maturity is your ability to learn from those experiences. But if you're steady having these experiences and never learning from it, then
you're
not right. So we can't look at a 22, 23-year-old and say, oh, he hasn't been through anything.
Yeah, you don't know nothing.
Like, you don't know nothing. Like, because he's still young.
But then we also use statements like, "Oh, you an old fool," which means you that old and still ain't.
Or you're ahead of your time.
Yeah.
Like, so, people at any age have the capacity, or people at any age have the capacity to learn and grow from their experiences, but not everybody accesses it at the same time. So a 23-year-old could be more mature and ready to handle a situation with, being in a marriage, building a home with kids and all of that, than a 30 or 33-year-old might be. A 30 or 33-year-old might still have the mentality of being out here and slinging his thing every way he sees. So I just think it would be helpful if we didn't, again, going back to the confirmation bias and going back to the optics, if we didn't assume that simply based on your age, this is what you are, this is where you are, this is where you're at in life. You don't know where I'm at in life. Have a conversation with me
and
to find
figure it out. Right. I agree. You're on a roll or whatever. Calm down.
And then my last point was base your judgment on their ability to learn from their experience and others' experience.
Rhonda said, I can also look at someone's experience and learn from it and say, I don't want to go through that. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah,
exactly what we're saying.
Exactly.
Rhonda.
Yeah, that's the best. To me, that's the best way to learn.
Right.
That is the best way to learn anything to me.
Right. So just because I haven't had the experience of having a child doesn't mean I can't look and see
that this is not a good idea.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to just go have a child, or even be able to say that I'm unable to take care of a child just because I don't have one.
Run that last one back.
Just because I haven't had a child doesn't mean
the last point you brought up, because I was reading her comment in the
the last one was base your judgment on their ability to learn from their experience and others' experience, and that goes right to what she was just saying. So when you're dealing with someone, so like again, going back to my experience, when I'm talking to women who tend to be older, they can't tell how old I am until I tell them. For the most part,
by the time you already real to me,
right.
I got you, son. You ain't going nowhere.
For the most part, they assume that I'm their age, if not older or just a few years younger. But then when I tell them, it's like, oh my gosh. But it's like, okay,
I'm going to jail.
Right. But it's like, had it not been for me telling you my age,
it wouldn't have been a problem.
Right, it wouldn't be a problem. You were basing how you saw me based on
who I actually am.
I was, my mentality, the conversation that we had. So instead of basing someone's experience, what did I say? Basing your judgment off someone's age, base your judgment off of their ability to learn from their experience or their ability to learn from others' experience, right? So again, going back to the idea of maturity, just because you've had a specific experience doesn't make you mature. Your ability to learn and grow from that experience is what makes you mature, or is what continues your maturation process. So I feel like what we need to start looking for in people is how do you process situations? Like, how do you process the experiences that you go through? When you go through these experiences, are you just repeating these same choices and mistakes that has you where you're at now? Or when you go through certain things, are you looking at it to see, okay, how can you improve? How can you develop from this point to where you're not stuck in the same spot? You're actually progressing and improving. Those are the kind of things that we should be looking for in people. And we shouldn't be so focused on, oh, you're this age, then you probably don't have the ability to do that. You know, I'm probably more mature than most older men that I'll come across, you know what I mean? Or vice versa, you know what I mean? Or I just feel like these are just a lot of the negatives that I see coming from focusing or age being such a determining factor. Now, I can understand why. That's not to say I can't understand why someone who's older who's more established meeting a person who is younger or who may not be as established, they may look at that and see, okay, well, even though you're young, even though you're mature for your age, you still haven't reached a point where you're ready or where this is something that you want. Like going back to the situation you brought up earlier, right? With the person who's 10 years older than the guy that's just starting college. Yeah. Like, okay, you're just starting school, so clearly you're not focused on a family right now.
And she got kids already.
Right, like clearly you're not focused on buying a home. You're focused on trying to get through school, and that's completely understandable. But that has nothing to do with the age. That has everything to do with the two people's positions in life. But again, not everybody goes to school right out of high school. Right. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people get established right out of high school, and they make good enough money to be able to buy themselves home or be able to be in a position to be able to take care of other people. So, you know, and not everybody in school is between the ages of 18 and 22. You got 30, 40-year-olds that are in school. So I think we should be looking at, instead of looking at the age, let's talk about where we're at in our lives.
The location in life.
You know what I mean? Like, what is our mentality? What is it that we want out of our lives individually? Would it work if we tried to put it together? And if it does, then let's try to make it work.
Regardless
of the age. If it does not work, then clearly there's no point, right? So again, I can understand why you may look at someone else and be like, okay, what you're doing in your life doesn't look like it would be compatible with where I'm at in my life.
It has nothing to do with your age. It's just what you're doing.
It's just what you're doing.
So what I would say is, to the points that I brought up, I can now tailor my response better, being that I've heard both sides. So I think I would say age should not be a determining factor, but age should warrant a sense of identifying what you're saying. So, because no matter the age, you still need to be cautious of those things. But the level of caution is not the same for two people who are the same age.
Right.
If we're the same age, we work together, we went to school together, we don't really have to be as cautious of this stuff that we name them, because a lot of these things don't come into play. So age shouldn't be a determining factor, but age should warrant a more detailed investigation to see if we merge together. And if we do, then let's throw age out the window and make it work. If we don't, then we just thank age for being the identifying thing that started us to look into it.
Denise says, such a great topic. I really enjoyed this. Thanks, guys. You're welcome. Rhonda said, that's what I'm talking about, fellas. So yeah, I think I can agree.
Yeah, age shouldn't determine, but it should definitely warrant, though. Like, be a little bit more cautious proceeding, because like the ownership, generation, mentality gap, physical abilities, and sex drives, those aren't things that can't be worked on, right? You could literally work through the 10-year gap with my homegirl and her. They facing all these, right? But they could literally work on that and still make it work. So it isn't going to determine if they work it out, but it definitely will. We want to sit down and talk about this.
Now, the only thing I will push back on is even people that are the same age deal with some of these. Yeah, they deal with some of these things as well.
That's true. But that's what I'm saying. But the chances of someone, well, could you agree the chances of someone who are
higher?
Just generally speaking, two 21-year-olds could definitely have a sex drive issue if they decide to get married. But the chances of that are not as likely as a 21-year-old and a 55-year-old. Now, there are 55-year-olds with high sex drive that could match that 21. But the chances of that are slimmer if the age is closer.
So, to you, should there be a cutoff?
As long as the two people are able to go through these things, the ones you name and the ones that I name, and they're able to have a conversation about it and come to a resolve on every level, or at least the level that they're comfortable with not resolving. Like, the sex drive may be okay, right? So I may not have a high sex drive and you do, but you're okay with that because it's so many other benefits that you're not willing to give up because of a sex drive. We can resolve. So I don't think that there should be a cutoff age. If, just say I got 5, how many did you have?
7.
7 is 13?
Yeah.
So there's 13,
12.
Okay, there's 12 things that we name between one another, right? So there shouldn't be a cutoff age if we can sit down and determine that, okay, out of these 12, we're able to resolve 8. There's 4 left, right? Can we live with these 4 things not being resolved between us? Mm-hmm. If we can, no cutoff age is needed. If we can't, then let's start coming down on the cutoff on the age to try to come down on the amount of things that we got to settle for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I got you.
Okay.
Denise said, "Amen." Amen. Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's very interesting. I never considered. I know I never considered a confirmation bias. I did consider the optics because I think we had that conversation before. I held the perspective of just because you are old, that doesn't mean you're wise. And what was the other one? What was the last one?
Base your judgment on their ability to learn from their experience and others' experience.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I was there. But yeah, I never thought about that confirmation bias. That's good. Yeah. And the optics was good as too. That one. Interesting.
I would say those two is.
That's the major. Yeah, them the major two. The rest of it, we can actually probably deal with the rest of it. That's fine. We can make it through that. But them two there, that'll end a relationship. That'll end it so fast.
Before it even starts, yeah.
And it really.
Not everything I do.
You gonna think that
oh, it's because you're young. No.
And it really brought it home when you brought up the club thing. And it's like, just say you get with somebody who's 40, right, and you're 25, 26. Okay, so I know you. I've been knowing you last 5 years. So then she make a statement. I knew you was young-minded. You all in the club. And in my mind, I'm like, this is the very first time he has ever went to the club. He don't do that. Like, all the other things that you agreed to be with him for is still valid. The club is really not valid because that's a once in a blue moon thing. But you're not a chat. That's crazy. I never saw that like that. But we do that a lot to a lot of stuff. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Instead of having a conversation with you saying, hey, how often do you go to the club? Well, this is my first time ever even going to the club.
It's really not my thing. Like,
ask me.
Let's
have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation. Talk to me, son. Just talk to me.
Let's have a conversation. That's legit, man. That's real legit.
Yeah. And it goes both ways. We do it on older people as well. Mm-hmm. You know, we assume that
just because you don't want to go to the water park, like, oh, you old, we can't travel together. Like,
right. I need to get me a younger person.
I don't know how to swim. Like, it's okay.
Like, bro, there's so many other ways that we can connect.
You're right.
So how do y'all feel? What is the moral of today's topic?
So is it fair to say it really boils down to a conversation?
Like,
can we just have a conversation?
let's talk about what do we want.
Yeah.
And can we achieve these things together?
Like, it really just boils down to a
do
conversation.
our wants and our goals align with one another to where we can come together and work together on these goals? And if not, then we just it don't matter what age we are. People that are the same age can want two totally different things, right?
You know what blessed me with my homegirl though when she said this, cause her and old dude, they were talking about all this, and when he told her, you know, the reason I'm scared or hesitant about being with you is because I know what I can offer you, and she told him the same thing. She said, if we remove the gender roles, then how does that look for us? Mm-hmm. I was like, that was the perfect response, because he was naming, I don't have to buy you a house because you got it. I don't have to buy you a car. And she was saying, what did she say for him? I'm not. So it was whatever it was basically gender based. And when she said, well, if we remove the traditional gender roles of you buying me a house and me being a housewife and all that, everything that we want from each other, we're already doing for each other. I want you to be there when I call you. I want to talk on the phone with you. I want to connect. I want to have decent conversation. I want to be loyal. I want to be respected. Like, we're already doing it for each other. The only thing that's separating us is these society-based roles.
Once we get those out the window, we're fine. And that's crazy you brought that up, because I actually thought of another topic to add: gender roles versus skill-based roles. Instead of having roles based on gender, let's have roles based on the specific skill set each person has. So, for example, team sports, right? Let's just say basketball, football. Generally, on the court or on the field, everybody that's on the court or on the field is playing a different position. No two people are playing the same position. And even in each position, everybody has a specific role that they play that's respective to their position, right? But everybody's role, while it is different, it's all working together for this team concept that we're trying to achieve. So just because one person may score the most points on the team doesn't automatically mean his role on the team should be the leader. He may not be equipped to be a leader. He may just be equipped to play his role, which is to score the most points. The person who scores the least points, he may have the qualities of a leader, which may be more beneficial for him to take the head or to be the one to galvanize the team in order to achieve the goal that we're trying to achieve, right? So we can't assume, when we're going back to the context of a romantic relationship, we can't assume that just because I'm a man or just because you're a woman, that these are specific roles that be assigned to you simply based on gender, even when you don't even have the skill set to take on this specific role. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm seeing everything saying make perfect sense, but they really just helped me understand some stuff we've been talking about lately, like how I perceive like friends and these other people. And it's like, dang, because I've been saying all day this is who they are, but now it's like that you're the point guard, like you're the defensive end. I'm expecting you to be the wide receiver,
but that's not your position. That's not your role.
And now I'm mad because you ain't going long. Who the fool now? I'm the fool. Like, I'm like this, and you stay there blocking, and I'm like,
get open.
Go. He's like, bro, that ain't what I do.
Yeah,
go long. I don't go long. It's like, I'm the fool. That's
right.
crazy.
So I think when we get into the mentality of examining each person's skill set and then assigning roles based on the skill set, the whole idea of gender goes out the window, and we have a much more.
I gotta apologize to some people. I ain't doing all that now. I'm gonna just tell you, I'm not doing all that. But moving forward, I will have a better mental space for you. I'm not apologizing.
But yeah, the whole gender role thing will go out the window, bro. Rhonda said, I really wish people would let go of society constraints. Who says the man has to have the home already before we get together? Why can't the woman already have a home?
Yeah.
So would that mean I should not, as a woman, purchase a home until I meet a man and let him do it? That's
foolishness.
Correct?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Swanee says, say.
No, ma'am. You couldn't have thought. Just know that moving forward, I'll be a little bit more respectful of y'all position.
Right.
If you're not a wide receiver, you're just not a wide receiver. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we can make that a whole other video, but I wanted to bring that up because I thought about that today.
Yeah. I'll give him that. All right. I ain't apologizing to nobody. I say what the freak I said. Oh.
I just wanted to say that's crazy.
It's crazy how she popped up on the board. All the stuff we've been saying, now you on.
Now you here.
Now that's crazy, son.
Rhonda said good topic.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you. All right.
That's crazy.
Well, this is a good stopping point. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to an interesting conversation, an interesting topic. If you have any friends or family that you feel like needs to hear this, please put them on. Allow them to watch the video. If you haven't caught any of our other topics, then you can just visit my YouTube page. Type in Aaron Tate. That's AARONTATE. You should see my handsome face. Just click on it and you'll have access to all the topics we've discussed so far. Tune in, same time, same place next week for another interesting topic. Throughout the week, Adrian should be posting what our next topic will be, so be on the lookout for that. But right now, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to our future selves. She said, bro, I was sleeping.
No,
right,
I know where you woke already.
And one day we'll look back on this and wonder why we were like this in the first place. And we'll holler at you next time.